Ever get that like totally irrational fear, like heart racing, palm sweating, can't even think straight?
We're talking phobias, right? But not just your run-of-the-mill scared of spiders kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. We're going deep today into the top 10 worst phobias out there, the ones that can seriously mess with your life.
This isn't just about being a little freaked out. These phobias, they can control how you live, where you go, even who you are.
We've got a list here based on how much they can totally derail your life. And trust me, some of these are wild.
Definitely not your typical top 10 list.
So buckle up, get ready for some serious aha moments, because we're going to break down not just what these phobias are, but like why they even exist.
And how we can, maybe understand folks who deal with them a little better.
Right. Empathy points. All right, let's jump right in. Number 1 on our list is, drumroll please, thanatophobia.
The fear of death.
Okay, so kind of obvious, right? Everyone's a little scared of dying.
Sure, but thanatophobia, this is next level. It's not just knowing you'll die someday. It's this constant, crippling dread.
So even just living your normal life becomes terrifying.
Exactly. Driving a car, watching the news, anything that reminds you of your own mortality. Total panic.
Whoa. Makes you think about those existential philosophers, right? Like Sartre, Camus. They were all about this.
Absolutely. Thanatophobia gets right to the heart of what it means to be. Heavy stuff.
Definitely makes the rest of the list seem a bit more manageable. So number 2, we have atechophobia.
Fear of failure. And this one, so many people can relate to this.
Big time. That feeling of not being good enough, messing up, really messing up.
It can be paralyzing. Think about all those super talented people out there, right? But atechophobia keeps them from even trying.
Because they're so scared of failing, they never reach their full potential.
Exactly. It's a fear that can hold you back in every aspect of your life.
Makes you wonder how many amazing things we're missing out on because of it. Okay, next up, aerophobia.
The fear of flying. Now, here's the thing. Statistically, flying is one of the safest ways to travel.
Tell that to someone with aerophobia. It's like logic goes out the window.
Totally. That primal fear takes over. Your brain's like, nope, we're not doing this. Danger. And
it's not just I'm a little nervous. It's full-on panic attacks.
Absolutely. Makes traveling a nightmare. But luckily, there are ways to manage it. Therapies like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, can be super helpful.
So it's about rewiring those thought patterns, not just telling someone to, chill out.
Exactly. Give them the tools to, actually deal with those intense feelings. All right. Moving on to number 4, claustrophobia.
The fear of enclosed spaces. Elevators, anyone.
Yep. That feeling of being trapped. But, claustrophobia can be really different for different people.
Some people just get a little uncomfortable, but for others, it's full-blown panic.
Right. Crowded rooms, small cars, even some clothing can trigger it. It's about that loss of control, that feeling of being restricted.
And again, that fight or flight response kicks in, even though there's no real danger. Okay, let's move on to a classic, arachnophobia.
The fear of spiders. This one, it's everywhere.
It's like almost everyone knows someone with arachnophobia or has it themselves.
I think it's partly because spiders have gotten such a bad rap over the years. All the scary movies don't help.
Totally. And then there's the way they look. All those legs, those eyes.
Plus, they're kind of unpredictable, right? They can just appear out of nowhere. That sudden movement, instant fear for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's like our brains are wired to be creeped out by them. But here's a fun fact. Most spiders are actually harmless.
True, but try telling that to your amygdala. That's the part of your brain that handles fear.
Logic doesn't always win against our primal instincts. Okay, now for a phobia that's been getting a lot of attention lately. Trypophobia.
Yes, the fear of clusters of holes.
Okay, this one's weird. Think honeycomb or those lotus seed pods.
Or even a sponge. Some people see that and just freak out.
It's not even about the holes themselves, right? It's what our brain associates them with.
Exactly. Scientists think it might be linked to a disgust response. Those holes remind us of skin diseases or parasites.
So it's not the actual thing that's scary. It's what our brain tells us it represents.
It's a great example of how subjective fear can be. And honestly, we're still learning a lot about trypophobia. It's a relatively new area of research.
Yeah, so much we still don't know about the brain. All right, let's move on to a phobia that hits close to home for a lot of people. Glossophobia.
The fear of public speaking. Oh, yeah. This one's a biggie.
I think everyone's felt that, nervous flutter in their stomach before giving a presentation.
Totally. It's that spotlight effect. Feeling like everyone's judging you.
And that fear of messing up, saying the wrong thing, just completely freezing up.
It's about social acceptance, right? We all want to be liked, to fit in, public speaking. It puts us out there, makes us vulnerable.
But there are ways to manage it, right?
Right.
Like breathing exercises, visualization.
Absolutely. Lots of techniques out there to help calm those nerves. It's about taking control, empowering yourself.
Now let's talk about a phobia that often starts in childhood but can stick around. Nyctophobia.
The fear of the dark.
Okay, this one makes sense, right? Back in the caveman days, darkness meant danger.
Totally. Predators lurking in the shadows. It's a primal fear, deeply rooted in our evolutionary history.
So even though we know there's probably nothing actually out there to get us, that fear remains.
It can manifest in different ways. Anxiety, trouble sleeping, always needing a light on. For some people, it's a constant struggle.
And it shows how much our past still influences us today, even if we don't realize it. Okay, number 9, mysophobia, also known as germophobia.
The fear of germs and contamination.
This one can be tricky, right? Because obviously good hygiene is important.
Yeah, but with mysophobia, it goes way beyond that.
It's constant hand washing, avoiding contact with anything that might be dirty. It can really take over your life.
And it's often tied to a need for control, trying to create order in a world that feels chaotic and unpredictable.
It's like trying to build a wall between yourself and anything that could potentially harm you. But that's not really how life works, is it?
Not at all. And it can lead to isolation, difficulty maintaining relationships. It's a real challenge.
All right, last but not least, we have phobophobia.
The fear of fear itself.
Okay, this one's like a total mind trip.
It really is. It's like you're not afraid of a specific thing, but the feeling of fear.
So you're scared of having a panic attack, which makes you more likely to have a panic attack.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle. And it can be really hard to diagnose because the trigger isn't always obvious.
It makes you realize how complex phobias can be. It's not always as simple as like, I'm afraid of snakes.
Right. And that's why it's so important to seek professional help if you're struggling. There are effective treatments out there.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. From spiders to darkness to, well, the fear of pretty much everything.
What I hope people take away from this is a better understanding of how phobias work and how they impact people's lives.
Totally. And maybe like a little more empathy for those who deal with them. Because at the end of the day, we all experience fear.
It's part of being human, but by understanding it, we can learn to manage it and live fuller, more meaningful lives.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. And remember, knowledge is power, even when it comes to our fears.